Right now, there are 10 banned engine mods that will void your insurance in 2026, and most of you are running them without even knowing it. This is not just about safety, it is a corporate hit job on your right to wrench. We have entered an era where insurance companies are not just protecting you, they have become the secret police for the big engine manufacturers. They do not want you to have a boat that lasts 40 years. They want you in a subscription-based, plastic-wrapped box that dies the second the warranty expires. Around the world, the right to repair is being quietly executed in the dark. These 10 hacks are not illegal because they fail. They are illegal because they work too well. They make your old mechanical diesel immortal, and that is a direct threat to the corporate bottom line. While drones scan your engine room for non-compliance, a hidden war is being fought over who actually owns your boat. Will you defend your mechanical sovereignty, or will you let a digital contract turn your pride and joy into a worthless pile of scrap? You want to know how the noose tightens? It's not theory, it is hardware, silicon, and audit trails. The deep scan does not care about your intentions, it cares about what is in the engine room and what is in the logs. Here is how the trap is set. A portable OBD unit, usually an ELM327 variant or the Autel Maxi SYS MS906 Pro TS, gets plugged straight into your diagnostic port. It is not just reading error codes, it is pulling a full binary dump of your ECU, firmware version, live sensor streams, and then hashing the entire log with SHA-256. If the hash does not match the manufacturer's baseline, the system flags you before you've even finished your coffee. Thermal cameras come next. FLAR units, tripod-mounted or drone-borne, sweep the engine bay for temperature anomalies. They are looking for anything that runs hotter or cooler than the OEM spec, like a methacrylate heat shield that radiates just a little too much, or a fuel line that runs 5 degrees colder because you installed a high-flow polisher. The camera does not care if it is saving your injectors, it only cares that the thermal map does not match the digital twin in the insurer's library. Every reading, OBD, thermal, ultrasonic, even the XRF alloy scan, gets logged with a timestamp, device serial, and operator ID. The surveyor, ISO certified or not, signs the audit ledger before the data goes anywhere. Then, before you even get your inspection report, everything is uploaded over encrypted Wi-Fi to the insurer's cloud, where an AI co-pilot compares your machine to the compliance catalog. The photos you took for your own records have to match the machine evidence, byte for byte, or your claim gets tied off with a digital slipknot. This is not a negotiation. This is a forensic cross-check, metal, firmware, and chain of custody, all stitched into a ledger you will never see. And that right there is the new shape of the vampire policy: total audit, zero trust, and no room for mechanical sovereignty unless you know exactly what is being measured. A single hash mismatch, and the vampire policy drops the axe. The audit system doesn't knock, it sends an automated void letter stamped with a policy clause that reads like a death sentence. Any deviation from baseline firmware or undocumented modification constitutes immediate cancellation. There is no appeal. The moment your ECU hash fails to match the manufacturer's record, the backend system generates a denial notice. 92% of flagged cases end in a full claim rejection, according to the industry's own loss ratio chart. That's not rumor, that's the number insurers circulate in their closed-door briefings. Owners are left staring at a template letter, coverage rescinded due to non-compliant engine modification. There is a shipwright in Massachusetts who keeps a stack of these redacted void notices in his drawer. He reads them out loud to new clients like a warning. The numbers don't lie. A flagged engine drops 12 to 18% in resale value overnight. Brokers knock thousands off the asking price, even if the so-called MRD just made the engine last longer. The audit doesn't care about intent or ingenuity, it cares about matching numbers and digital fingerprints. Every policy now comes with an addendum, fine print that gives the insurer the right to run a deep scan at any time. If your logs don't line up, you're out. No payout, no recourse, and a black mark on your vessel's record that follows it to the next owner. That's the new reality. One automated scan and you're financially underwater. The only defense is airtight documentation, proof that every part, every byte, every bolt is exactly what the insurer expects. Miss a single detail, and the noose tightens fast. The fuel polishing system promises cleaner injectors, but it also draws scrutiny. Insurers look for non-standard filter housings, extra manifolds, and polymer tubing. A simple clamp on flow rate gauge tells the story. If flow exceeds factory specification by more than 15%, the audit is triggered. Every pump plate, model tag, and quick connect fitting is photographed and logged by serial number, building a case line by line. These details become the backbone of a denial letter, not just a maintenance record. The governor spring comes next. A tighter spring might help in rough seas, but auditors know the trick. They pull the spring and measure its length. Anything over 0.8 millimeters off the original specification lands you on the loss ratio chart. The spring tester's digital readout and the missing factory stamp are enough to flag a claim. Each reading, each mark, is documented. The surveyor's hand, steady as evidence, stacks up. Manual throttle overrides tell their own story. A welded bypass lever, a worn cable, a handwheel adapter, these are the shipwright's answer to stubborn electronics. But if the throttle position sensor shows a 10% gap between pedal and shaft, the system logs it. A hidden splice or continuity jump is all it takes. The insurer only cares about the byte-for-byte match. Every reading, every tool, every serial is photographed, time-stamped, and chained to your hull. If the records do not match, the fix that saved your engine might cost you everything. Tractor store swaps sound like a cheap fix. Until the audit. The moment a casting stamp doesn't match the original equipment manufacturer master list, the deep scan system lights up. A bolt head stamped TS or a surface finish with micro grooves instead of the old school smooth. And you've just handed the insurer a reason to void your coverage. The XRF gun doesn't care about your receipts, it cares about manganese and chromium content. If the alloy mix is off by even 5% from the factory spec, you're flagged. One Massachusetts shipwright keeps a drawer full of rejected parts, every one a lesson in resale loss. 18% gone overnight, the minute a mismatched plate shows up in the report. Methacrylate heat shields are another favorite. They look clever, lightweight, transparent, easy to cut and fit. But hit them with an IR camera after running full load, and the surface temperature spikes 30 degrees hotter than the original steel. That's all it takes. The insurer's AI overlays your photo with their digital twin, and the polymer's spectral signature gets logged. Shear strength under 12 megapascals? Denied. 81% of claims with non-standard shields never see a payout. Every mod leaves a trail, a mismatched stamp, a temperature delta, an out-of-spec alloy. The audit isn't looking for your ingenuity, it's hunting for forensic tells. So here's the checklist. Casting number, alloy scan, thermal map, time-stamped photo. If you can't match all four, you're not just risking a denied claim. You are putting your boat's value and your own sovereignty on the block. This is what mechanical serfdom looks like. You hold the wrench, but the ledger holds you. Every so-called improvement, every clever workaround, gets weighed against a compliance checklist you didn't write and can't negotiate. The insurer's rules are not just rules, they're a leash. Miss a photo, lose a serial, or swap a part without the right paper trail, and you are no longer an owner. You are a tenant, paying rent to the compliance gods, praying the audit does not find your fingerprints on the forbidden list. Ask any shipwright who has watched a client's boat bleed value on the open market. 12%, 18% gone overnight. Not because the engine runs worse, but because the policy gatekeepers say so. The resale hit is baked in, a digital scarlet letter that follows the hull from broker to broker. The audit photo becomes your identity, the checklist your chain. This is not stewardship. It is a new form of dependency enforced by software and sealed with a denial letter you can't contest. Mechanical serf reality means your skill, your sweat, your ingenuity, none of it matters unless it matches the insurer's digital twin. The only freedom left is the discipline to document every move, every bolt, every bite. Miss a step, and the vampire policy drains the value, leaving you holding the keys to a boat you do not really own. That is the price of compliance. That is the new order. And if you are not angry yet, you are not paying attention. Clamp a digital ammeter on the main harness, and the truth jumps out. 2 amps drawn on a circuit that should be asleep. That is ghost wiring, a hidden loop, a splice tucked behind the starter, a silent power thief that only a forensic meter can spot. The insurer audit log does not care if it is just a backup feed for your navigation lights. If the draw exceeds 2 amps at idle, the clamp reading gets flagged, and the compliance engine starts writing your denial letter before you even know what is missing. Now, turbo boost. Forget the old days of swapping a wastegate spring and calling it a day. The deep scan overlays your boost log against the original equipment manufacturer curve, line for line. 5 pounds per square inch over the factory limit, or a turbine inlet temperature that rides too close to the red line, and the back-end AI assigns you an anomaly score that puts you in the 88% club, claims denied, value erased. It does not matter if your swap fixed a chronic lag, the audit only sees numbers out of bounds and a non-original equipment manufacturer actuator bolt that never belonged there. Data tells the whole story. Every spike, every idle draw, every byte in the logbook becomes evidence. That is why some shipwrights run a parallel data recorder, a raw dump of every sensor and every clamp reading, time-stamped, signed, and ready to fight back. Because when the audit comes, the only defense left is your own chain of custody. Miss it, and you are just another name in the voided policy ledger. Weld marks never lie, but in the age of deep scan, even a perfect seam is just the start of your trouble. Take the exhaust restrictor, a classic shipwright move. Weld in a baffle, maybe a custom muffler, to quiet the note or push a touch more torque at low RPM. But now, the audit team walks in with a back pressure gauge calibrated to the 10th of a bar. If they catch more than 0.8 bar at 75% load, you are done. The surveyor runs a gloved finger along the weld, points to the non-factory bead, and the reading gets logged. 65% of flagged restrictors end in a payout cut, and the resale hit lands before you can even grind the weld flat. But that is still the old war. Physical evidence, steel and soot. The new front is invisible, the firmware. One hash mismatch and it is a digital kill switch. Here is how it works. They plug in, dump your ECU, and the back-end AI runs a SHA-256 hash against the manufacturer's golden image. If it does not match, the system spits out a denial code, no context, no appeal. 90% of timing hacks get voided on the first scan. You could have advanced ignition by 4 degrees to save on fuel, or just fixed a lag the dealer would not touch. It does not matter. The firmware hash is the law, and the audit log is your judge. Physical or digital, the net is wide. The shipwright with a welding torch and the hacker with a laptop both land in the same blacklist. The only difference is whether the evidence is baked into a seam or buried in the code. Either way, the vampire policy gets its pound of flesh. Heat is the last tell, the final, silent witness that never lies. Oil cooler bypasses are the mode of desperation, a shipwright's fix for an engine that won't keep its cool. But the audit doesn't care if you saved your bearings, it cares that your oil temperature trends above 115 degrees Celsius. That's the insurer's hard line. Run a bypass, skip the factory cooler, or plumb in a loop with silicone clamps, and you've just painted a thermal target on your hull. The surveyor points an infrared camera at the bypass loop, and the sensor doesn't blink. 40 minutes under load, oil temperature holds at 118, 119, 120 degrees Celsius. The digital trend graph is all the evidence needed. 80% of claims with a detected bypass get denied outright, no matter how clean your oil analysis reads. This is where the vampire policy draws its blood. Each mod alone is a red flag, but together they bleed you dry, affecting resale value, claim eligibility, and the right to call your boat your own. The digital heat map overlays your engine's veins, every bypass and shortcut glowing like a confession. The audit doesn't need words, it just needs numbers above threshold, a missing original equipment manufacturer cooler, or a capped outlet. That's the final tick in the ledger, the last straw in a policy built to drain you. The list is finished. The message is clear. The more you fight for mechanical self-sufficiency, the more the system finds new ways to bill you for it. That's the vampire policy in full daylight, always feeding, never sated. Start with your phone out and your hands dirty. Every bolt you touch, every part you swap, every reading you capture, lock it down in a packet that will outlast any audit. The only thing standing between you and the vampire policy is evidence. And that means time-stamped photos, annotated ledgers, and a trail that a surveyor cannot twist. Snap a shot of the engine serial plate with today's date burned in the corner, no filters, no edits, just raw proof. Next, flip to the maintenance ledger. Do not trust memory. Log the hour, the part code, the torque spec, and if you replaced a hose or a spring, note the batch number. If you are running a fuel polishing loop, photograph the filter housing with the model tag visible. If you have a non-OEM bolt, record the casting number and the invoice from the distributor. Every page, every photo gets a matching timestamp. If you are serious, add a third-party lab slip for anything that leaves a question mark, spring rate, alloy content, polymer shear strength. Staple the slip to your packet. The insurers want field-level encryption, fine. Encrypt a backup of your records and keep the decryption key off the cloud. Write a one-page cover letter mapping every artifact to a checklist, serial photo, ledger page, lab slip, receipt. This packet is your firewall. The deep scan cannot void what it cannot dispute, and an airtight chain of custody is the only language the compliance engine speaks. The shipwright in Massachusetts keeps his packet in a fireproof box. He annotates every photo live, pen in hand, because he knows that one missing detail is all it takes to lose the boat. Do not wait for the audit. Build the packet tonight. Some engines stand outside the blacklist's reach. The Lehman, the Perkins, the Cummins 6BT, these names mean something to those who refuse digital control. Built before compliance was a matter of firmware, these engines rely on mechanical governors, cam-driven injectors, and stamped metal, not software. The Cummins 6BT, produced from 1984 to 1995, uses a mechanical P7100 pump, no chip, no code, just steel and fuel. The Perkins 4.236 and the Lehman 6-cylinder. Run on cam-driven injectors with a governor spring you can weigh in your hand. If the casting number matches the old parts list, there is nothing for an audit to flag. No engine control unit, no digital leash, no hidden kill switch. That is why these engines remain insurable. The deep scan cannot interrogate what is not there. Keep the serial plate unaltered, log every service by hand, and source parts from authorized distributors, and suddenly the vampire policy AI has nothing to find. Proof is mechanical, a photo of the governor spring, a signed ledger, a stack of receipts tracing back to the original parts book. No digital twin, no audit trail, just the evidence in your hands. Owners are building shared registers, engine make, model year, compliance check, logged and notarized, ready for inspection. Every Lehman or Perkins that survives another season sends a message: mechanical sovereignty is possible. The compliance game returns to hands, tools, and a ledger that answers to the engine alone. Start with engines that cannot be blacklisted, then help someone else do the same. Right now, the digital noose tightens around every undocumented bolt and forbidden line of code. Immortal iron is exiled, while vampire policy bleeds value from any engine that resists. The mechanical serf's leash is software, not steel. Insurers write the rules, but legacy hands still turn the wrenches. What's left isn't compliance, it's sovereignty. The blueprint is yours. Don't hand it over. Drop your tactics below and keep the signal moving.